All right, well, welcome everyone to this really fun panel. I'm excited to be here. I hope you're all excited for it too. We have 3 full-time YouTubers here. Do you like the term YouTuber or for influencer?
Shit online.
Not influencer.
No. So I come from the marketing side, so we use the term influencer way too much, and so I'll probably slip up and keep calling them influencers at times. But I do a lot with YouTubers and Twitch streamers, but you're going to want to mostly hear from these 3. So first up we have Arlo over there.
Hello.
Known for a little channel called Arlo Plays, where he played the Wind Waker. And
then I got a side channel.
He's got a side channel. He also covers other stuff.
Yeah, like it's not as good. Watch Arlo Plays.
We also got Lockstin here. With great Pokemon content, I must say. The first video of yours I saw was actually the Sword and Shield controversy. Long form one. Dramatic, very dramatic. I loved it, and I followed it very right up with the inner works of Wardemire. So, you know, it's very different videos.
Anything I can do to put Gardevoir in the thumbnail is worth it.
There you go. And last but not least, here we have Tyler from Treesicle. Woo! And I think the first Treesicle video I saw actually was the PRGE one.
That was a lot of people's first video.
Yes.
And there was a lot of people's last video.
I kept watching. I watched them. So I'm a big fan of these guys' content, and I want them to talk about their experiences first, foremost. So who wants to start? Do we want to go down the line?
How's it goes? Not me first.
So real quick though, the general idea that we had for this panel is we're going to start by answering some FAQs, frequently asked questions, and then we're basically going to open it up to everyone with hands, questions, anything that you have to ask us in terms of how to YouTube and how to have a channel grow, where do you start, all those sorts of things.
Your wildest dreams and desires and questions. We can answer them all, maybe.
You could also ask us whatever, and that should always be fun.
Boxers or briefs, also on the table.
So yeah, we should start with just some general experiences and things that we've learned that in our past panels like this, that are questions that are asked all the time. And would you like to start? Just your experiences,
Yeah, sure.
things that you learned along the way.
Yeah, totally.
And that are asked all the time.
So for those of you who don't know me, which is probably everybody, because I am the back end of Treesicle, I am a writer, editor, and business side. I handle all that sort of stuff for Treesicle, where I'll rant and rhyme or in front of cameras and whatnot. But I've been working with them since the day one, so that's who I am, in case you don't know. And a lot of stuff that we've learned is audio is the most important thing. Don't even worry about your face.
Took mine.
And a lot of people always ask us, like, I think the top question that we always get is equipment. What equipment do you use?
The camera doesn't matter.
The camera doesn't matter. You use your phone
Especially if you
camera.
don't have a face cam. But
Yeah.
the video side of things doesn't matter so much compared to the audio. If your camera footage is a little choppy and like noisy, you know, people can usually be all right with that. But if your audio sounds really bad and it's causing people headaches,
People are taking off. It's like,
first thing you always want to invest in is a decent microphone. And like the decent ones,
Not too much.
they're so much cheaper now than when we started.
yeah.
Like $100 now gets you what $500 did when we started.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Blue Yeti microphone at this point, and if you haven't, you should, because it's a really, really good beginner microphone. I think we don't use it for our specific recording, but I think I still own like 3 of them, and they still get used fairly regularly. So that would be what they use right now and what I have. I think right now I use a Bluebird, which is still a Blue product as well. I don't know what you guys use for your audio.
I think we both use the same microphone. We use the Zoom H5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I use it to record, but not the. Here, I'm not going to be able to. When I'm talking technical, it's weird. You just be like, I used the Audio Technica AT875R. So, sorry if this isn't Arlo as usual. But I use the Zoom H4 amp. That's just the record. But you use that to plug a mic into it?
Yeah. It's the one that has a mic plug-in on top. Something that I very frequently, because I have a Patreon where for so much I coach channels. And the one thing that most of them never realize exists are microphones with an SD card slot in them, so that you don't have to have the microphone plugged into the computer.
Oh, yeah.
Which means it means you can record anywhere, and like just recording in your closet is so much better than usually anywhere else.
Almost anywhere else. Unless you're doing it like under the covers of your bed, which we have done. In like situations where Grant was at home and he's like, I don't have anywhere to record. We were like, yeah, go under your covers and record there. Yeah, you can just do stuff like that. You don't need a computer. I mean, you do eventually.
It's the Zoom line of microphones. I always recommend them to people. As far as other sorts of equipment, I think cameras don't matter as much. Editing software has advanced a lot in the last few years also. There's people that are editing videos like almost as good as ours on just their phone.
Yep.
And it's so much easier to learn now too. I know at least for me, I'm not sure about you guys, all of the editing was self-taught.
Yeah, completely. I took high school video film. Thank you, Mr. Raines. I learned a lot from you. I really didn't though. And you know, it's completely self-taught. We had one guy on our team, Grant, knew a little bit of editing because he was into film, and he was like, "This is how you cut. It's the C button." And we're like, "Great." And then we had to figure out the rest. YouTube is your guide. There's tons of
We may be biased, but YouTube is a good resource.
Yeah. There's so many resources on there. There are entire channels dedicated to how do you Premiere, how do you Photoshop, and we can use them. We use them just as much as you guys do.
It all started with just starting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just if you're like scared off by software, like you just go. You just
Yeah,
go,
just
and
start
like,
learning.
how do I do this kind of thing? Look it up.
Yeah. Adobe has free trials. You don't have to pay to start.
One of the best mindsets to get is if you don't know something, you just Google it immediately.
Yep.
Sony Vegas is the one that I started on, and now I've upgraded to a slightly newer version of Sony Vegas. It's not the best software, but it is a good place to start. And
I actually agree with that. We started with Sony Vegas. It is significantly easier to learn than Adobe, but Adobe has more bells and whistles.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with Adobe. With Premiere in particular, once you get it, you really get it, and then you can go pretty quickly. And by quickly, I mean it's still going to take you like multiple hours to get a minute of footage done, but it's still pretty quick. But once you get into like After Effects and that sort of stuff, where you're like really big and like, I want to make a lightsaber. How do I do that? Then you really want to go into like the Adobe suite, I think.
And Sony Vegas is often on Humble Bundle.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh,
multiple
yeah, yeah,
times
yeah.
I've seen like a fairly newer version of it. That's how I upgraded actually. It's like $8, okay.
But yeah, use your resources. Humble Bundle's great if you want to start out with Sony Vegas and you want to learn something easy. Premiere, if you're a student, has really great prices for like monthly stuff. Yeah, I have a few hands. Thank you. Yeah.
But what about the full-time aspect?
Yeah, so that's all the technical stuff out of
Yes.
the way. Oh man, the full-time aspect. Going full-time is the scariest thing.
Still, by the way,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
still scary.
Oh, it never stops things.
Yeah.
YouTube could just one day be like, we're gonna flip the switch. Oof, no more YouTube, I don't know. No more monetization. Who knows?
We suddenly don't like blue monsters.
Yes. It could happen.
I was actually working at a company when Google shifted their algorithm like 10 years back. It was this marketing company. And we had built our entire strategy. I have no idea how the company made money. It was like 5 people doing white hat and black hat stuff. Black hat stuff is like buying followers and buying like visitors to websites. White hat stuff is what I did, was all like content writing for things. And one day I come in and I'm like, hey, where's John? And my boss is like, oh yeah, Google changed their algorithm last night, so all of our tactics don't work, so we lost $20,000 last night. It's like, and it's one of those where like, do we call Google, excuse me, Google, do you realize that we've been gaming your system and we would like you to change that back, please? But it's one of those, it's, you know, that's the lower level. You guys are doing much different. I mean, you're obviously white hat stuff in the grand
We
scheme
like
of
to
things.
think so.
Yeah, you have a different side of that, but that's the scary part of working with larger algorithms that you're not privy to, and you think you figure out all the ins and outs, and it's like, for us, it was, back in the day, Google, like, oh, we knew how to crank up your SEO and crank up your search like number doing these special tactics.
Right, SEO is search engine optimization, which is basically your tags and description and how the algorithm puts your video up against others based on.
It's almost like a ranking system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's a tool that I know I use. It's called vidIQ, and it basically will rank. It'll tell you what rank your SEO is for that video. So like I just posted a video about Garchomp, and so Garchomp is in the title, Garchomp's in the description, Garchomp's in the tags, and vidIQ will tell me Garchomp number 2. So it's if you search Garchomp on YouTube, it's the second result.
Right.
And that's all because of the SEO optimization.
Right, and vidIQ is great. There is like a paid version, you can upgrade to premium, but to start out, it'll still give you a ton of
It's a really good way to learn
How
tags
to
and
do that.
description.
That's a good tip.
Suddenly Arlo's just miles
Like,
ahead of
I'm
us.
like writing down notes.
Yeah, so yeah, vidIQ is a really great program. There's multiple programs that are like that. And SEO is something that you can search and learn, and it also changes.
You learn a lot about it in marketing classes.
Yeah, you learn a lot about it in marketing classes, and it works not just for YouTube, it's for Google, it's for anything that you need to search. So it's very important and really annoying.
Now, how about that switch from, or how do you get started? Where does,
You make something.
right.
Yeah,
I,
I've got a question about that.
sure.
Okay, one time I made something completely unrelated to everything else on my channel, and it got over 100,000 hits, and literally none of my other videos have that. And it's of my dog.
You hit the jackpot.
Yeah. Well, short hit.
Welcome to God's channel.
Yeah.
But what do you do if, like, the thing that you made a video of has nothing to do with everything else?
It's
That's
very,
YouTube.
that's entirely.
Well, what did your channel used to be about?
Oh.
Both of you.
Oh, yeah.
So, if anybody knows 5 Minutes at Freddy's in the audience, you've probably seen a video or two of ours, because I've probably written 50 5 Minutes at Freddy's scripts over my course of YouTube career. And over that time, I started having nightmares about 5 Minutes at Freddy. I once had a ninja sex party and 5 Minutes at Freddy crossover nightmare. So we decided as a team to stop doing 5 Minutes at Freddy's. And I feel better, but the channel has not been so happy because of it. And a lot of that has to do with subscriber burn and stuff like that. It's very hard once you build an audience, like, we have 900 some odd thousand subscribers. It's very hard once you build an audience that has 600,000 people wanting 5 Minutes at Freddy's content to suddenly not give them that content.
In my case, we started off doing just Nintendo theories and such, and then I had one Pokemon video go viral, make it to trending and everything, and then, oh, well that one did really well, I'll do another one, and then another one. All right, well that was enough Pokemon for now, I'll do a not-Pokemon video, and then that one tanked. All right, I'll do another non-Pokemon, and that one tanked. Even though my whole channel wasn't about Pokemon, all of a sudden, because I had one viral video about it, that's what a huge influx of subscribers subscribed for, so that's suddenly what the channel.
Yeah, you can get pigeonholed, especially in gaming, it seems like. You can get pigeonholed very quickly, because you do one game and everybody's like, oh, more of that game. I like that game a lot. It's a really good game. Oh, you're doing this other, I don't care about those games, I want that game. And it's not the same thing where it's like, if you think about the makeup YouTube sphere, nobody just does lipstick, There's no person that's just doing this over and over again, and that's all their videos, They're doing other stuff, they're doing eyes, they're doing blush, whatever. But it's very easy in gaming to be like, oh, you have to do Fortnite, you have to do Minecraft, you have to do 5 Minutes at Freddy's, you have to do
At the very least, games of some of the genre.
Yes, or like, Arlo is basically all Nintendo.
Yeah, I started out kind of whatever, and then it was okay, kind of whatever video games, and now it's kind of...
Right, when we started out, our first video that really took off was Samus Aran, The Story You Never Know. After that, we had Mario and Link, and then we did stuff like Faith Connors, I think, was in there from Mirror's Edge, and we did Nathan Drake, and we did all sorts of stuff, and that just doesn't work anymore. We also have a question that we should get to.
Yeah.
You say real quick.
No.
No.
Arlo, I'll watch anything that you
Thank you.
for what to do if that happens to you and you don't want it to happen.
Well, that's okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like it's a little scary too, because sometimes it's just the market speaking. Sometimes just more people are interested in that than this other thing.
Sometimes more people want more dollars.
It's what did YouTube want to show people? What did they want to put out there? What do they like more? And that's what's kind of frustrating and scary about it, is you never know how much of it is natural and how much of it is just like YouTube kind of controlling what you do, because that's what they do. Is they put in all these little rules and things, and they change the algorithm, and they like, we're puppets, man. Strings.
It's tough because
It's a little crazy.
this reminds me a lot of the late Monty Ohm. Do you remember?
Yes.
His with a lot. I remember his story when he started. He was making this really personal. I think it was like a detective noir type series.
Yeah.
And he was getting really frustrated that no one was watching it, and so he's like, no one is watching this thing I'm putting so much heart into. And he's like, screw it, I'm going to do a fight between Samus and Master Chief. And Haloid exploded, and suddenly his name's put on the map. And then he's like, I'm going to follow up with Dead Fantasy, with Dead or Alive and Final Fantasy characters fighting. And he's huge for him. And suddenly, he was like, oh crap, I'm stuck doing this for a bit. But now he then segued into Ruby, and so he got kind of
That first really picked him up and it was
exactly.
all over.
Yeah, and from there, I mean, he got to do, I think, a bit more what he wanted to do. But it was that kind of like, here's something very personal, but it doesn't have a name to it, so let me just throw two huge names together, and suddenly everyone's talking about that. And then he's like, I don't know how digital is doing this thing.
I think ultimately a lot of it comes down to not posting something that's too different in the first place. I wouldn't say to remove that video from the channel, but just keep doing the thing that you want to do, and eventually it might work out. I mean, the worst thing that happens from posting a dog video that goes viral is you got some more attention, and maybe some of those people will check out your channel and be like, oh, this person does this thing and I'm interested.
Right, and I would assume that video is still getting more views than the other stuff you're having.
It keeps getting more views and
Right.
everything that I get subscribers for. It's
Right,
so
so use the tools that YouTube gives you to try to turn those subscribers into subscribers for your other channel, or for your other content. You know, like use your cards, use your end screen, use anything that you can, use your description, and just be like, look at these other videos that are not this, but are still good, please. You know, like,
That is a really tricky situation.
it is. It's a very tricky situation, and I get it, because we've all, or at least I've been through that. I don't know if you guys have quite been through that. But like when we had Five Nights at Freddy's content, where we were like, we did like Five Nights at Freddy, and it was like, that's a 1 million view video. Well, we're not going to do it again. And then the next Five Nights at Freddy came out 2 months later, because Scott did 4 of them in like 6 months. And then, so when we did it again, it's like, that's a 1 million view video. Okay, we're not going to do it anymore. And then the next one came out, and it was just like, by the time the 4th one came out, he had gained like 200,000 subscribers of Five Nights at Freddy, and it's hard to carry that load when you don't want to do the content anymore.
my dog is getting older and I don't have other things to teach her.
There's a saying about it. I can't think of it now.
Sounds like let's do another
questions, yeah?
Hi. Can you comment a bit on how you decide on video duration? Like, for example, what happens if you post a 10-minute video? And then the interesting part is, for example, from minute 7 to 10. And then people keep skipping to minute 7 of your videos. Do all of these count as one view if they only watch like minute 7 to 10 of your video?
From what I've heard, I don't think there's any confirmation on it.
Right.
But from what I've heard,
Anything.
Yeah, YouTube will never,
All
YouTube,
guesswork.
yeah, YouTube doesn't even confirm that they're real. Like, we're not sure that we have jobs all the time.
if it's a unique IP address and you watch at least 5% of a video, I think it counts as a view. But views aren't super important anymore. It's more so about watch time.
Correct. Yeah, you don't want people coming for like 1 minute of a 10-minute video. You want them to watch more than half of that video. That's what's really going to get them going.
I remember talking to someone about this. Like the golden time for a video,
Golden
like,
ratio.
as long as it's not, stretched out to reach that time, is around 15 minutes.
Yes.
Because as soon as a video has an average view duration of 7 minutes, it gets recommended way more.
Yeah, we have a new channel that we started. It's an anime-only channel called Bonsai Pod. And that channel, our videos tend to be a little bit longer, closer to that 15 to 20 minute range, and we're seeing massive success because we're hitting like that 50-ish% view duration, which is around like 8 to 9 minutes, and YouTube's like, holy crap, people really like this, keep giving it to them. And the Treesicle videos tend not to hit that far, so we're seeing closer to like the 5 to 7 minute range, and you don't see as good return.
And then Arlo over here has like a 4-hour video.
9 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah,
Rounding out.
that will not stop performing.
And like was it your first video to reach 1 million?
It was. And like, you can't just slap any old like super long video out there, but like if you already have, like you built up an audience and the content is good and all that, like YouTube loves long videos.
Because it's watch time.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why Let's Plays can do really, really well, and why we saw such a massive growth of Let's Play channels a couple of years back. Is just people were uploading 20-minute videos, 30-minute videos, and people were watching, 10 to 15 minutes of them. And YouTube's going like, wow, people really like this content. Wow, they really like all of these channels' content. So there was just a massive Let's Play explosion.
It's all Twitch stuff. No one likes that. They're done.
Well, one of the Let's Plays, they'll start like tapering down after a while. Because I feel like there was a huge influx of everyone's kind of playing all these big games, and then they start doing their own stuff, and suddenly everyone's not watching. And so it's like, oh no, never mind, the algorithm has shifted again.
Right.
It's all so fickle.
Spider-Man.
How do you determine what is popular and what is not?
Trial and error.
Yeah, that's
It's a lot of it. Like we were just talking about, like you never really know what's going to just be like, oh, apparently people really like this. Like when I started out, I did more just kind of like videos about whatever, and I didn't really want to do topical stuff because then, it's dated. And then I started to dabble in topical stuff, and then, okay, people really like topical stuff. I guess I'm doing more of that. So like, it's just, that's a thing that more people, that's not really a category that people like, but like specific games, yeah, just experiment. As long as it's all still something you want to be doing.
Yeah.
Like you like Pokemon, so it's nice that it became a Pokemon thing, right? Like,
A lot better than FNAF.
it was just a thing.
You don't say. No, and a lot of it too is, I forgot what I was going to say, never mind.
It's hard to know what's going to be topical.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. A lot of it depends on your audience too. If you have an audience that is specifically a certain thing, what matters is what's popular to them, not necessarily what's popular to all of YouTube.
You gotta find your niche.
Yeah, because like if you're doing all Pokemon like Austin does, and then you decide, I want to make a Dark Souls video, probably not going to work out so well on the channel.
Or a specific Pokemon video that'll just not do well, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes just even that Pokemon-loving audience. will
Yeah,
just,
wasn't there a video you did recently about a specific Pokemon that you really like, and you were like amazed that it did so well? I can't remember what video.
Probably loads. That happens pretty frequently.
Okay, well, fine.
It is like the Dunsparce. Like, who likes Dunsparce?
There you go.
Many people like Dunsparce. They're all in this room right now.
Now, who likes Mach? Yes, my people.
Did there not one, like, what's the one you just posted and you were saying it wasn't doing so well?
So we just did a video about Pokemon Demonim, or Garchomp. Yeah. That one didn't. Also, like, we posted a video about Garchomp, which is an older Pokemon, so it's not really topical, and we posted it. We thought it was going to flop, and it did. It like was super bad views for the first day, but then day 2 came around. Pokemon tweeted something. It didn't have to do with Garchomp, but Pokemon tweeted something, and so all of a sudden, it was doing really well. So, like, a lot of times, what's popular is completely out of your hands.
Yeah, that's very true. You look at me? Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's go with you right here in the front.
Yeah, so I have a specific question for Arlo, but this is something you guys can also probably comment on.
No, it's just
So I
right.
noticed, so I know that I think a while ago, I started to notice in the corner of the video, you had this little thing edited by this person, and I think, I don't know when you started it, but it's actually very
Those are the good videos. You noticed it.
So, I guess sort of my two-part question is, when was the first time you thought you needed an editor, and when do you think is probably, what is the thought process of being like, I probably need an editor for this video?
In my case, I would say it's a somewhat special case because I have 2 kids, and I just have very limited time. Like, I mean, like once I finally went full time, and like my wife recently quit her job so I can do this full time, but it was around E3 last year was when it was just finally to the point where like I don't have enough hours in the day to like put out enough content. So it's really that, like, I mean, if I didn't have kids, I probably would have been able to go a lot longer. But at the same time, like, that's a good way to grow your channel. Like, you do need to, I mean, I would say you need to get pretty solid, like rolling pretty good before you, because you don't want to like over-invest, you know, like start throwing all your money at someone if your channel hasn't even proven itself yet. So like, my channel was already like rolling pretty okay. And I was like, when you can finally reach the point where you can calculate and be like, if I hire an editor, I'll be able to do that many more videos. And I'll make that much more money to help pay for the editor, even if you're like almost kind of breaking even at first. So like, it was really just that. It's when I reached that kind of tipping point where it's just like, now I am losing money by not having I don't have no hours in a day or whatever. And so what was the second part?
The second part is, so I guess they were both the same question, like how you go about deciding for the editor.
Yeah. Really just that. And yeah, and like we started out like slow at first, like he did one, and then he was doing a couple a month, and then it was this January, like this year basically was when I gave him full time. You know,
What's his username, by the way? Because I always see it, but I can't remember.
Kane's the name. His YouTube channel is Far-Fetched Reviews.
Far-Fetched Reviews.
Yeah. But he kind of sort of slightly rebranded. Kane's the
I've
name.
seen it on other stuff on other channels.
He's very excellent. He's a very good channel. Kane, if you're watching this.
But speaking of a tipping point, another frequently asked question is, how do you know when you should go full time?
It's a hard
Say
question.
you've been doing YouTube for a year. At what point do you decide to quit your day job and start focusing on YouTube completely? I think it's fairly easy to know that, because for me it was just when the income from YouTube was a little bit more than my day job. Because at that point you just calculate out, well, if I take the time that I'm working at my day job and use that to work on YouTube more, would it work out to be more?
The math should work out.
One thing I'll add is like, one good thing at least to consider is like, are you currently growing? Because if it took you a super long time, because YouTube is fickle and something might change, and you like even just month by month ad revenue goes up and down because it's like, are we closer to Christmas? Are we not? So like, I would say you'd be more confident if you're on the up. Like you're currently trending up, so you know if you were doing YouTube more. Like,
So go full time in September is when you should go full time. I mean, I kind of kidding, but also kind of like September, you see an increase in revenue through to December, so it's a really good time to start. But I think.
But then if you quit your job and then January rolls around.
Yeah, well, I would say if you see an increase, that's typically a good time to start, because then you can put more into it.
No, the last quarter of the year. It's like, in fact, I've done a bunch of videos, like I'm just sitting on it. I'm just kind of waiting, because it's just like, everything, growth, just exposure. Everyone's watching YouTube, advertisers are paying more. It's just the last quarter.
Yeah, we do 2 videos a week right now, and we're ramping up to 3 for December specifically.
Very, very important.
Was going full-time always a motivation for you guys?
It was always something I wanted, that's for sure. I mean, like, YouTube always seemed like something I wanted to do.
Yeah, same. I mean, I grew up watching Rooster Teeth and like Red vs. Blue and stuff, and I was like, oh man, I want to do that at like 12 years old, 11 years old, however old I was. So me and Ryan like tried 3 times to start a YouTube channel in middle school, in high school, and then again in college, and the college one worked.
I've got a ton of failed YouTube channels.
Yeah, no, you can still find like little itty bitty Tyler voice with like Ryan before his voice dropped too, doing Let's Plays.
Boy, did it drop.
Yeah, no, it dropped a lot. He's a man now. But yeah, no, you can still find like, and this is not just for us, like I'm sure you can find tons of YouTubers failed YouTube channels if you look hard enough, where we were all young and dumb and didn't know what we were doing.
Which does go into the whole, your first idea might not work.
Yeah.
You have to be ready for that. You gotta
Ours didn't.
That's a
not
really
put
tough
everything into your first idea.
It's something that people don't want to hear is like, you're going to start out bad.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, it doesn't matter what you're doing in life. You're going to start out bad. You got to just keep doing it. It's one of the best ways to learn.
Practice.
Everything just like,
Yeah, we didn't start out analyzing video game characters. We started out with really bad Let's Plays. And then after 5 months, we were like, wow, we're still really bad at Let's Play. Maybe we should try something different. So we wrote a script and that worked.
So most YouTube channels usually go through an actual
Like towards the beginning or after on?
Try to do really well the other times.
Yeah.
Patreon's a really important resource.
Yeah.
Patreon has saved me a number of times because it's more like, a lot of people are really shy about like advertising their Patreon. Like, I don't want to be begging for money. It's like, beg for money. We're YouTubers. Give me some money.
We're all sellouts.
No, like something steady like that, and also just, I don't know, pushing really hard, like you said, like Q4, we know is really good. So that when you get a bad month or something, hopefully you're like, I've got enough, enough to pay the bills anyway.
Yeah, I guess that's basically it.
Planning, honestly, that's what it is. It's a lot of planning.
Like November, for us, November and December make 50% of the annual income.
Yeah, it's
just
crazy.
those 2
I want to
months.
get that point.
Yeah, and it's just like, if you know that's gonna happen, you plan when that money comes in, you save it, because you know January is not gonna be that way.
That's life. That's life lesson.
Yeah, also, I know Luigi here has had his hand up for a while.
Yeah. How harsh is YouTube when it comes to costing?
It's,
I wouldn't know.
actually, I mean, I wouldn't know personally either.
About that.
They're super inconsistent is the problem.
Yeah, so here's the thing,
If
right?
you're like a big huge guy, oh, who cares? You're making us a bunch of money. But like little guys, like, oh.
Right, yeah, they're very, very uncertain on what they want, is the answer. Like, we have videos, like, our length of story you never knew, like, when we very first started, probably has the F word in it, like, 30 times. Like, it's a lot. Still monetized. No idea why. Meanwhile, if we, say, like, hell now, we might get demonetized if it's in, like, the first minute, because they're like, oh, no. Advertisers don't like that.
Dude, so
I've heard that it is a little bit about if the video is older or newer.
Yeah.
But YouTube just recently rolled out a thing where everyone has to basically rate their own video.
Yeah, have you started doing that yet?
Yeah.
you can do that?
I haven't gotten that
I
yet.
have to. I'm not allowed to.
Maybe it's just not rolled out to me yet?
Yeah, it's not rolled out there, so they're in the process of rolling it out. So you have to go through and rate your video. So now they're actually specifically telling you what level of monetization you have based on different factors. And the one involving swear words is is there no language? All right, that's fine. Is there mild language as long as it's not within the first 30 seconds or the title? Okay, that's still okay. Is there strong language in the first 60 seconds?
Yeah, that's
Now
the
it
thing.
might have limited ads.
So now people are going to be just like signing their own death warrant.
Yeah, well, and this is something we've heard too, is that like, whenever you put ad breaks, do not swear within 30 seconds either side. Don't do it before, don't do it after. And that seems to work pretty well.
I have relevant information about the marketing side here.
Well, let's tell us.
Okay, so this is less about the YouTube side necessarily, although I can tell you a horrific thing you might not want to know is we work with one big client who likes to throw money at ads and things. When we set up ads for YouTube, we have 4 categories we always exclude because the client is afraid of them. News, politics, religion, games. So there are a lot of people that probably don't know that just by tagging relevantly, because you're talking about games, you're not even talking about bad games, you're just talking about games, you might be losing out revenue because there's a lot of very large corporations that are very scared.
They're all scared of PewDiePie.
They're scared of people. Well, yes. Honestly, yes. There are some that are scared there because there was recently, within the last couple of months, a big controversy that happened in the back end where somehow an ad appeared in like an pedophilia-related gaming video, and the tag happened to get there, and it was one person running for everybody. And we because we're an intermediary between the larger client, we're a smaller agency, and we're like, hey, this is the reality, and they're like, we don't care about the reality, we care about the perceived reality, which is suddenly gaming is too dangerous. So it was, so we had to exclude gaming as a tag, even though this is a major PC supplier, and it's very relevant, and suddenly, oh, we can't advertise it anymore. So we're like, okay, every time we send out an ad. So it's like, it's a scary side, it's like you can't do anything about it, it's one bad apple, and throw the whole barrel away.
Yep.
And meanwhile, when it comes to cursing, when it comes to getting activations with stuff and campaigns and things, depending on the sponsors you might get, so one thing that I do, by the way, for background, I'm in marketing, we do a lot of what we call activations, which is campaigns and stuff. We'll decide, client says we want to get so much views on this or talk about this topic, can you give us some influencers? Here's the influencer talking here. give us influencers. And we love to recommend people that we know and watch or people that we're friends with. I'm always throwing my friends at them as much as we can.
I've never gotten one of these emails.
Well, and the problem is that we work mostly with PC stuff, and so since you are sadly not PC, like I have a monster to send you stuff, but like I've worked with like Gerard the Completionist, a friend of mine, so I'm always trying to get more. Yeah, and I'm trying to tell Gerard like, hey, if you can do more PC stuff or like show this, I can more easily tell my client like we want to work with you. And the thing is that a lot of times you think that you're trying to shoot for the brand, and what you're actually shooting for is intermediaries like us. You're trying to get us to like you. And we have, like, depending on who we are working with, we have to be very, very careful on who we recommend. So we always do a very strict process of vetting people. We watch through as much of the YouTube as we can, at least look through a little bit of videos, Twitch, social media is a big one. And the social media, big thing to note. If you have Pepe the Frog once in your social media, we won't work with you. We can't. It doesn't matter whether whether we know that you know it's a joke or that you think you're being funny. If Pepe is there, can't get it. And like, what does this mean? What do you lose? Like, here's an instance. We did an activation maybe a month ago, and we were trying to get people for a retweet to win activation. We're like, hey, we're gonna give you like $2,000 to retweet, to do 2 tweets, and people are gonna retweet those just because we want share of voice, which is a meaningless statistic, and we tell that to our clients, but they want it because the executives think it's important. So they're like, we have money, and we're like, good, throw to people we know and like. So we're vetting people, and we're about to put, send them a contract, but then we find, 3 months ago they posted about Pepe. And our client's like, nope, can't do it. So just one rogue tweet with Pepe, and they lost $2,000. All they would have had to do was just send out 2 tweets and get $2,000. It's like that's the
Thank you for that horrifying slice of reality.
Yes.
So we have to deal with it. We don't even necessarily know we're doing.
All that to say, like cursing wise, cleaner channels are always easiest because we can pitch a clean channel, a family-friendly channel to our client every time.
Yeah.
A question for you.
Yes.
How does innuendo work?
Ooh, so it's tough, and we as intermediaries, we're aware that you're working. Gaming is a more like mature. There's a mature side to it, and so we have to tell them a lot, especially when we do a lot with Twitch. We're like, look, Twitch, they're going to swear a lot more on Twitch. That's just the way Twitch is. You can't be scared, and there's the difference of like, is it fun swearing or is it like mean swearing? Are they just like, and it's a weird distinction with innuendo. With innuendo, we did have, actually this is kind of relevant. We were putting together an activation and we were vetting a bunch of people, and there was one guy who was part of a group that we were grabbing everyone with, and his name was Eat My Diction. And his channel had nothing to do with that, but we nixed him based on that.
Based on the name?
Just the name alone. And we had to do that with people's names.
I figured it was
Like
gray
corporate
area.
Yeah, it's very gray area. It all depends. Again, like if you have if you're working with different clients, they're different things. Like some care more, some care less. The one we work with, they're very family friendly. Their image is like, no, you're not going to be anywhere near stuff. And they've even been flip-floppy about like, especially if you are a female content creator, it's really unfair to you because we've had so many times where we have worked with really great creators, and then they'll post some stuff on Instagram of like, hey, I'm at the beach, or hey, I'm feeling good today, and then our client would be like, whoa, did you see all that stuff they posted? I'm like, yeah, they're a human. And they're like, nope, not to us, can't use them again. So it sucks, and we've told our clients before, like, this is,
that's what we're trying to say.
Yeah. Why do you want a career in this?
so there's,
We should try to get to the questions that we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Alright. I was mostly wondering, like, how important do you think it would be, like, very early on to, like, try to promote, like, your videos in places where they would make sense? So, like, outside YouTube. So, for instance, if you were, like, making a Pokemon video, how important would it be, like, share, like, I don't know, places people talk about Pokemon, like, very early on before you start out there?
In the early days, very important. I feel like eventually, once your channel grows enough, there's a point where like a lot of people are going to be upset that you're like, oh, keep your advertisements out of Reddit.
Yeah, so like,
Other people will do it for you if they find it.
yeah, this is actually super relevant. We started out posting on Reddit. Like that's how we did it, and then That's where our initial boost came from, and then we stopped after we got that initial boost. But
So when you're small, like, I don't know, sub 10,000?
yeah.
I really didn't do internet. I kind of.
Well, brag about it.
I have to show myself. Honest.
In front? Yeah.
What would you say the most popular type of topic on YouTube of all time has been?
Negativity. Negativity. Go negative. Get you all your dreams come true. Get on stuff.
Yeah, drama for sure. But I think overall it's actually like toy videos.
Yeah.
And then the second place is makeup tutorials.
If we're not talking about like music.
Yeah.
Music is the biggest.
But gaming is up there. But it's a little harder to get into, especially if you're doing things other than Let's Play.
The cool thing though is like YouTube is still like, even though you got your really big stuff, it's still really, really broad.
Yeah.
So like there are a lot of audiences. So like you can find pretty great success with things that you would feel relatively niche to you.
Yeah. My mom used to always say, in a niche you get rich, and if you can find something nobody else is doing, that's a good thing to be doing.
Yeah, like we can have like giant gaming YouTubers that like people who just aren't aware of what gaming is, they've never heard of them. Or even like they are into games, just still haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, we ran into the 8-bit guy today, or the other day. Never heard of him, looked up his channel, I was like, wow, this is like a million sub guy. He does great content, that's really cool.
I should have said hi, and I just like brushed him off. Out of my way.
Yeah, what are you saying he does? He does like older,
Like looks at old PCs.
yeah, like looks at old PCs and stuff. That's a niche market that he's found, his content.
Yes.
So this question is for Arlo. How much do you think the puppet has helped make you stand out more from everyone else in the gaming space?
I don't know, man. I mean, like, there's a part of me that makes me feel like it stands out in its own way, but then there's another part of me that makes me feel like it like puts a lot of people off to it. So I'm like, I don't know how much of it is like that, if that's what got people's attention, or if they just kind of like the content I was making. But I don't know, maybe some.
I can tell you from betting side on marketing, it's much easier to know exactly who you are and what you're about if you have something so distinct.
Yeah.
We have internally in our company a term, we call them jazz. What's jazz? Just another streamer. And if we're trying to vet like 30 people and we have a week to do it, we're flipping through someone and they're like, what's special about this person? Nothing. Next. And we just have to keep going because like, what do they do? Oh, they're playing Fortnite. Okay, what does this person do? Oh, they do that. Wait a minute, this one is a corgi. That's different. So there's
a link to that?
I think if you look up like corgi gamer, like someone had, there's someone who plays with like the CG corgi is the avatar. So cool.
Yeah, real corgi icon.
Lightning round?
Lightning rounds. We got
Real
2 minutes.
Yeah, we're super short on time, but we are going to be over there, and so, like, talk to us. We're going to be here for the rest of the con, and we love talking about this kind of stuff. So
This is what we do when we're not up here too. So.
yeah, like we're just talking to each other about each other's experiences. It's super cool.
These three have an autograph session over in the autograph auditorium.
And so feel free to ask
All
us.
technical questions and complicated things will go to these guys.
So, so they'll be here for the next hour in the second area.
But we'll probably get one or two more in the back. Yes, you.
Sorry. So I'm just curious, are YouTube premium views, are they better or worse for you?
Way better.
1,000 billion times.
So much better. Every better. Like, there's so much
Think of
better.
something that could be better. It's that.
Yeah.
Glasses hat.
So how has become being full-time YouTubers affected you guys health-wise, not in terms of just like physically going?
Horrible.
I used to like my life.
It's definitely a stressor, both on body and mental health, for sure.
Yeah.
Anytime you're not working.
Yeah, anytime you're not working,
Anytime you're not
I
working,
should be
you're
working.
making money.
Yeah, I used to live in a really, really small studio apartment where my bed was literally right next to my desk, and I was literally I was literally always at work and never anywhere else.
And that's just your psyche.
Yeah, it messes with your psyche. Now I have an office that I can shut the door, and that's really nice.
Anyway, we've just got the signal that we have to get going. So thank you so much for coming, and ask us if